So the new feats and backgrounds that are coming to One D&D, that is, the new D&D, are published for playtesting, and damn, these changes are big. We've got new feats, buffed feats, nerfed feats, and just a whole shake-up of character creation, which, if you read between the lines, tells us a lot about the direction One D&D is going in. Let's break it down. So to start, backgrounds give you your ability score increase now, not your race. When you pick a background for your character, you choose 2 ability scores and you increase one of them by 2 and the other one by 1. Or you pick 3 and you increase them all by 1. Then you get 50 golds to spend on equipment, gain proficiency in 2 skills, 1 tool, and 1 language. I just gotta point out here that Common Sign Language is an option, which is awesome. This is a silent language. If you're a party that's gonna be sneaking around a lot, pulling off heists and the like, it's definitely worth picking this up. Just make sure your DM is cool with you using sign language while wielding a weapon or holding an arcane focus or whatever, because if they say you can't, this does get a lot worse. Every character also gets access to the Common Tongue, whatever that is where your setting takes place, and another language of your choice as well. But anyway, the big hype feature here is that every background comes with a first level feat of your choice, or you can pick a pre-made background, which all come with a free feat as well. So here's the thing, all the backgrounds they give us are made exactly using these rules. They call them sample backgrounds that you can pick up if you don't want to make your own, but they don't bring anything new that a custom background wouldn't. Urchin, Sailor, Hermit, they're all doing the same stuff as each other, just with swapped out feats and proficiencies. Old backgrounds did weird stuff, like doubling the speed you moved through a city or making it so you could always find free accommodation with common folk. It was cool. These new backgrounds are kind of flavorless by comparison. It's just feat, tool, skills, language, done. This is a part of D&D's recent aggressive balancing maneuver. They've been targeting abilities that give classes things they normally don't have, like armor proficiencies. The Githyanki had their armor taken away, and the Mountain Dwarf no longer exists, so there's no armor proficiency there either. Presumably, this is to stop wizards and sorcerers walking around in medium armor without having to at least multiclass first. People were thinking maybe they'd put these options back in with these new backgrounds, but it seems they aren't going to. With these new rules, you're just never going to be able to pick up a weapon proficiency or armor proficiency from your background, unless they introduce a first level feat that gives you a weapon or armor proficiency. Still, some of these feats we get, new and updated, are pretty awesome. Let's break them down. You burst through the door and come upon the dreadful sight, the terrifying maw of the great world. That's a plug. No, the plug is a dragon. The matches are a fire giant. This tube of hand and face cream is for my complexion and may later be a lich. I haven't decided yet. I don't have time to get minis for everything. Dude, just check out Dragon Trapper's Lodge. Dragon Trapper's Lodge is creating the ultimate minis to use in D&D. Incredibly detailed and shipped right to your door. They also create a themed adventure module every month with stat blocks and magic items to roll right into game night. This month is the Mushroom Bayou, featuring an invasion of myconids. It's only $15 to get the module and the whole 40+ model set to print yourself, including the massive Snail Lodge. Sign up with the link below before the end of the month to get access before it's gone. I haven't seen this many minis since I got lost in the Italian Job Appreciation Society car park. Is that really the joke you're gonna end on? Yep, that's the best I got. To buy epic minis or 3D print them yourself, use Dragon Trapper's Lodge. Link in description. Alert! Add your proficiency bonus to your initiative rolls, and immediately after you roll initiative, you can swap initiative places with a willing ally in the same combat. So this is a pretty big shift from the original. That one gave you a flat +5 to initiative and said you could never be surprised while conscious, and enemies that you couldn't see didn't get advantage on attacks against you. Now it's okay. Nerfed, but they are giving it out as a first level option. Also, there are definitely times when swapping initiative can be really good. Maybe you roll really high, and you can swap initiative places with your wizard, so they can wall of force all the enemy archers before you get your peachy buttocks pinned to the back wall. However, we've got to talk about what this actually means, because there are now 2 feats called Alert that do different things. They said One D&D would be backwards compatible. It's not replacing stuff. So, Can you take this feat and also take the original alert feat? There's a rule in D&D that says you can't stack magical effects of the same name, but that rule doesn't say anything about feats, and these two feats are actually really quite different. However, stacking the lucky feat, because the new and the old ones are technically different, sounds insanely broken. For balance, I recommend DMs tell players you can only take one feat of a given name, at least until Wizards of the Coast give us some official rulings. New feat, Crafter. You gain 3 Artisan tool proficiencies of your choice. When you craft an item with tools that you are proficient in, it takes 20% less time, and you get a 20% discount on any non-magical item you buy. Wow, this was almost insane until they said non-magical item. Still, shaving 20% off plate mail or purple worm poison is putting 300 to 400 gold back in your pocket. Pretty nice. But the hype thing about this feat is the reference to crafting. It kind of implies they're going to be putting more emphasis on crafting in this update, which is awesome, but until we know more, we can't really tell exactly how good this feat will be. Healer. When you heal a creature with a healer's kit, that creature expends 1 hit dice and regains hit points equal to a roll of that dice plus your proficiency bonus. Also, whenever you roll a die to restore a creature's hit points, either with this effect or a spell, and you roll a 1, you can re-roll, but you have to use the new roll. Honestly, this is a buff. This feat does what the old healer feat did 99% of the time, that is, get up downed allies so they can keep fighting, but it does it better, and it provides a passive benefit to your healing magic. The irony is that players with healing spells who are going to get the most out of the second half of this ability are also the same players who are going to get the least use out of the first half of the ability. Still, it's a flavorful and decently powerful option for just about anyone. So the lucky feat is no longer broken, but it is still amazing. You get 3 luck points. Anytime you roll a d20 test, that's the new term for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can spend 1 luck point to give yourself advantage. So basically, you roll, and if you fail, you just roll again. Also, whenever another creature attacks you, you can spend a luck point to force them to roll at disadvantage. This would be amazing for dodging crits, except, well, we'll talk about crits in another video. The big change here is the wording, which closes an old loophole in the original Lucky. With the original, you spend 1 luck point whenever you make a d20 test, and you roll 1 additional die and take the highest of all the dice you rolled. That meant you could close your eyes before attacking to roll at disadvantage, rolling 2 dice, and then use a luck point to roll a 3rd, and pick the highest of the 3 to be the one you keep. This essentially turned disadvantage into super advantage. It was crazy. Lucky is still great, it's just a lot more fair. I actually consider this a buff because it's way less likely to be banned now. Magic Initiate is basically the same as it always was. You pick a spell list and you get 2 cantrips and a 1st level spell from it. However, it is better now, because firstly, you get to choose whether you use Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma as your spellcasting modifier. And secondly, if your class has spell slots, you can cast the 1st level spell you learned with them, as well as once per day for free. Finally, you pick from the new spell lists: Arcane, Divine, or Primal, which are basically Wizard/Sorcerer, Cleric/Paladin, and Druid, respectively. All in, this is a great feat. Definitely a buff here. Then we get another new feat, Musician. You gain proficiency in 3 musical instruments, and whenever you finish a short or long rest, you can play All-Star by Smash Mouth and give a number of allies equal to your proficiency bonus, Inspiration. It's okay. Inspiration isn't that good, it just lets you apply advantage to a d20 test before you roll it. Also, you can't inspire yourself, unless you consider yourself an ally, which, I don't know, maybe. Even then though, it's still pretty weak compared to the others. Savage Attacker got a slight rewording, but it's functionally identical to the one we already have. Once per turn, you roll your weapon damage twice and choose the higher roll to use against your target. It used to be one of the worst feats in the game, but if you get it for free with a background, it's not quite so bad. If you want to make this work, you've got to be a character wielding heavy D12 weapons. Turning a 1 or 2 on your damage dice into an 11 or 12 is an incredible upgrade. The maths here works out at around 2 additional damage per turn, which is better than nothing, and it will feel amazing when you upgrade a 1 into a 12. Skilled is the same as always. You choose 3 skills in which you aren't proficient, and you gain proficiency in those skills. Except the feat is repeatable, so if you want to be a skill master, a human rogue can start the game with this feat twice, for a total of 13 skill proficiencies at level 1. Madness. But Tavern Brawler is a beloved feat, which has seen some real changes. You still get to use a d4 plus your strength modifier for unarmed strikes, but now you can no longer grapple as a bonus action, which was the cool part of that feat. Instead, when you hit a creature, you can just automatically push them 5 feet away, at no action cost, which is pretty good. Also, whenever you roll damage with an unarmed strike, you can re-roll it if it's a 1 and use the new roll. There's no once per turn limit on this ability, unlike with Savage Attacker, so for an unarmed fighter or a monk, this is really good and will net you some serious damage over the course of a campaign. Final downside, old Tavern Brawler gave you proficiency with improvised weapons, which let you do crazy stuff, like kill a man with a sheet of paper. Sadly, now you just get to wield furniture as a weapon, which is still funny, but it's not as funny. Finally, there's Tough, and it's the same. Your hit point maximum increases by an amount equal to your level times 2 when you take it, and then every time you level up, you get an additional 2 hit points. Tough has always been a very solid feat. It makes you extra tanky. Padding your hit points is never a bad thing. It's also a great, simple feat for beginners. If all this character creation stuff is a bit overwhelming, just take the Tough feat, and you'll be stronger without having to worry about any extra mechanics. But also, there are some massive rules changes they're bringing to the game, like big shifts in grappling and massively powering down crits. We need to talk about these, because they make some builds incredible and other builds total trash. But if you want more awesome stuff to play with right now, grab the DM's secret weapon on Patreon for over 250 pages of subclasses, races, feats, adventures, spells, and new rules to enhance your games. Also, remember to like and subscribe, check out other videos on the channel, and I'll see you next time.